Today is the 1st of January 2026, and it's also the 13th and 14th day, sort of, I'm doing it a bit together today, the 13th and 14th day of learning Spanish. Um, Now, previously I mentioned that I wanted to revise through my work and read through all the stories that I've written out. So, just to familiarize everyone with exactly what I'm doing. I'm using Link, which is an application that I pay for, and I'm going through every single story, mini story, and I'm writing it down. Um, and but obviously, now that I'm on, that I've written up to story 11, I'm reading through it. Well, because there's so much input, I figured that I would revise through all of it. But so I started from back to number one, and I started to reread through it, and then I noticed something that was fascinating. Um, which was I was really fucking bored, and now I can't be fucked revising. And I find that revising is one of the two steps that revising is the second step of what I mentioned through the language learning process. The first part being recognition, and that's what the writing down is for. And then the next one is repetition, which is the reading and the listening, the repetitive reading and listening, which is the same concept as revising over your work, really. So, because I'm just reading through it, that's my revision strategy. So, yeah, anyway, I noticed it was really boring, and I figured that and I think you should be very attentive to what you find that's really boring or really sort of laborious or some bullshit like that, because if something is really laborious or really bullshit, then you're not going to do it every day, and you might be disciplined one day or the next, but let's be honest, like, you're gonna have days that you're gonna skip, and I refused to do that. I stick by my rule of consistency. So if I find something extremely boring or that's pissing me off, stop it. I just stop it immediately. Fuck that. We need a new method. So, but I mean, so what do I do instead? Like, how do I revise if I'm not going to discipline myself and put myself, right here, right now, and go through the book? Then how should I do that? Well, I think that revision, because it's so laborious and so fucking boring, that you can sort of do it in the passing time. So when I'm on the train to work, I can open up the app and I can take a look at things like that. And I think that that's a lot more effective. And it's what I've been doing with my Chinese to keep my Chinese up to date. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit more intense sort of revision through my Spanish because I don't know it very well. So and all that means is just being a little bit more attentive. But honestly, I'm not actually sure how much that has an impact about noticing things and being really attentive, because I don't like strenuous strain on the brain. That's also not going to be a consistent habit that you can maintain. So if it's too strenuous. So yeah, it's really fucking boring. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to, whenever I'm just chilling, pretty much, is I'm just going to open my phone up and all this very book that I have that I've written down all the stories, and I'm just gonna go through the stories, but I'm not gonna, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna put too much effort in. I'm just gonna take a look at it, swipe around a little bit, look at the words, familiarize myself with the things that I've already written down. So because I mean I've written up to story 11, so I'll just be going through the 11 stories that I've already written down and just be like, oh yeah, this word means this word means that. So it's not like a, it's not like it's not a difficult activity really, but I just find it really boring to sit here and do that, because even though it's not a difficult activity, it still takes a considerable period of time. And when you sit down like this with a pen and paper, doing something that's very repetitive and that takes a considerable period of time, it just seems like I'm losing a little bit of motivation, because it's like I'm going over shit that I've already written down essentially. I'm not improving, I'm not expanding, and that's demotivating me. So that's why I'm not going to continue with the revision strategy like I mentioned before. I'm going to do it in my passing time when I'm just, you know, when you're just chilling. I mean, most of you motherfuckers out there probably scrolling on Instagram and stuff, and I did the same thing. So I guess you could use that sort of time to revise over your language learning. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, yeah, that is it. I'm pretty sure that is it. Is there anything else I want to talk about? Yeah, so in the mini stories, there's pretty much part A and part B. And part A is speaking it from a third person perspective. it's telling a story from a third person perspective. It'll make more sense when you actually go through the stories, but it's telling from a third person perspective, and part B is telling it from a first person perspective. I'm doing this, I'm doing this, he's doing that, he's doing that. That's the difference. But this is quite important. Well, it changes a lot of the verb conjunctions and stuff like that in the story, because Spanish is like that. It's dependent on who's saying it, when they're saying it. Well, I don't know. I think so anyway, because I look at the second half of the part B, and quite a few of the words are different, and I feel like I haven't even not only have I not revised over those things, I haven't even exposed myself to that material yet, because I've only been writing part A because I've been a lazy fuck. So what I think I will do from now on is that I'm going to rewrite part B of the stories for each and every story that I've done so far, which is also going to be a tedious and boring exercise, because that's only going to be changing a couple of the words. But that's a more important task than just, it's still more, I'm going to maintain the motivation because it's still important to get that exposure, and it's still new exposure. A lot of those words I'm not even familiar with at all from the first person perspective. So yeah. So I need both of that. I need that third person, that first person. I need to be, the exposure is what you need before you can move forward, really. So I'm prioritizing that. So yeah, that's what I'll do. I'm going to rewrite the part B of the stories, basically the same story, just a slightly different perspective, up to back up to story 11 like I'm at now, and then we'll see where to go from there. Yeah, I think that'll be the next step. Sometimes you can't think too far in the future with this stuff, you know. I'm not gonna, and like I mentioned in the very, very first video, the plan changes all the time as you transform, as you get better. That's why these videos are interesting, because I'm explaining what I'm going to do next. And there's something different that needs to be done to help you learn the most efficient way possible, and to help you, progress in a with considerable, to progress enough that makes it feel like you're actually making progress towards the goal. Anyway, that's it.